I mean, this is a question that constantly happens when we create a budget with someone, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a matter of understanding the numbers inside out, isn't it?
Mhm. Yeah, and then, but it definitely is like one of those pinpoint kind of questions that people just want that understanding. Because if you go, when you go into a business, you've never run a business before. You don't know what those figures should look like, you know, what the percentage of stock you should be spending, what the percentage on wages it should be going to, and so on. You just don't. Well, I personally think a lot of people who enter into the industry just don't know that. And I think it's a burning question that they want to know, so that they can, when they do a budget, they can understand, are they in the right area of what they're spending?
For sure, but I think it's a little bit also beyond that, because it's understanding your number in the sense that, okay, you might be spending a little bit more on training, for example. I'm always being asked, how much should I be spending on training? Well, it depends. Is your ethos and your kind of strategy around training, in which case you're going to spend a little bit more than someone else. Marketing's the same. I mean, there are ballpark figures that are obviously key. For example, we do say 5% of your total cost should be on marketing, 5% on training, but it could be 15% if you want it to be a lot more prominent.
Yeah.
And you've got the cash flow, and you're actually able to sustain that with the number of staff that you have. So I never think it's a clear-cut number. However, the ballpark figure, for example, on staff should be between, I would say, 25% with hair, it can go up to 55% when you look at a spa, big, large operation. But also in a kind of medium-sized salon, you should be looking at a 35% to 40% max.
Yeah.
That's the ideal. Again, does it include you as an owner?
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Not really. That should be separated. It depends on if you're taking dividends. It depends on if you're paying yourself a salary. So it is an analyze that I feel that you have to do on a monthly basis in order to know, okay, this month I'm going to be spending a little bit more, I'm hiring someone, or I'm not going to pay myself the dividend, or I'm paying myself more. So therefore you've got a ballpark figure, but at least you know where you're at as well with your personal kind of budget, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The fixed costs, you're looking at about 25% of fixed costs, which is your rent, your utility bills. But again, with what's going on at the moment, that could go up
Probably
a little bit.
Probably going to be a bit higher,
A tiny bit higher. I mean, we haven't seen a huge necessary kind of impact on the ballpark of the fixed cost, but it can creep up if you're not careful and if you're not renegotiating certain aspects of the business. But where I get the most arguments with is the stock.
Yes.
Yeah, the stock I want 12%, 8 to 12% of your total cost on stock, and that's where a lot of my members are, you crazy. 12% is really tight. Now, I don't mind if you are a salon that has that retail culture, that you have your stock control on point, and we've really worked on all of that. You will go up to 15%.
Yes, yeah.
Some months you'll go up to 18, 20% because you need to book to order for Christmas or you need to order for busy time. I get that, but as an overall number, more than 15%, I'll be a little bit worried. That means you're overspending on stock, which ultimately stops the cash flow from growing. Yeah.
And by doing that as well, you're also able to analyse and see where the money's going. And are there areas where you can cut back, or because until you can't look at that in terms of what you're spending on each thing without doing something like a budget. And then when you do, then you can really start to look at where is the money going, and where could the savings be.
But for example, you could have a high staff cost. So for example, that could be a 40% staff cost, let's just say. What my question would then be is, okay, so are every single one of them that you have within the business profitable to you? And if they're not, or if there's one or two that are not, the big question is, and we've seen it straight after the pandemic when some of the flosses, shall we say, or the heavier weight on the budget were actually there for the sake of delivering treatments, but that was it. Actually, once they kind of were gone and you rely on more of the core team that were profitable, they were even more profitable. They brought in even more money.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's less perhaps difficult energy around. So they've got room for growth, and they allow themselves to kind of have more clients as well. So we've seen businesses with less staff doing more money than ever before.
Yeah.
And that's because the staff has been profitable. So if you're going to bring someone in, what is your strategy around that person coming into the business?
Yeah.
How do you impact them in the business straight away? What training do you give them within the first 3 months of their probation? How are you going to grow them, their individual plan? All of that to me has got to be a strategy around. It's not just a ballpark figure. It needs to it's all linked.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It is all linked, and then it just all needs to add up at the end.
Yeah.
Somehow, and like you said, some businesses will spend more on certain things and others not so much, and that's just an idea of percentages of what you're looking for, isn't it?
Yeah.
But in an ideal world, that's what you're looking for. But if there's reasons behind a change, or that you're spending really low or really high on that particular area, remembering definitely in the wages to take out the directors, their dividends and things, because otherwise that can skew the figures as well.
That can skew the figures, but you could leave it in. Again, that depends on how many directors, what you do, etc. in terms of how much money. You could leave it in to understand exactly what is a number, and you could take that out in order to understand what is the people. Like if you're a director that is actually in treatments, you're going to need to leave it in.
Yes.
If you're not in treatment, then that's when I would take it out to understand where is the money generated and where is it going. But it's such an important aspect of analysing months on months, and every time we do the exercise with our members, I didn't realise I was buying that many cushions.
Yes.
I didn't realise it was such a Amazon trigger happy. But okay, so what do you spend on Amazon? You don't even know what you're spending on Amazon. Let's find out what's Amazon about, because otherwise next thing you know, you spend 500 quid a month on Amazon for stock. What is the stock? Is that relevant? Is it not relevant? And ultimately that's where you're overspending. We could argue at the moment that the more profit you're making, the more you're going to give it to the taxman anyhow. So there's a bit of that. So for me, if you can build your cash flow, if you can try and reinvest in the business where that matters. Training, perhaps. You could start
if you are doing
machines,
that.
exactly. Perhaps there's an element of you've never done commissions before and you want to start doing commissions. We've done that yesterday with a member where we're starting commission, but again, you don't want your wages to suddenly go up and giving money just for the sake of giving money. No. There needs to be a commission that's relevant around what you want them to generate, isn't it? So, I love numbers.
Yes, you do. And spreadsheets. But also, just to sort of finish on that as well, it's key to getting a clear picture is to do at least sort of 6 months. So that you can really, because 1 month, like you said, if it's coming up to Christmas, you might well have a big old spend on stock. So actually what you need to do is be able to take an average. So it's if you can, and you're going to do some kind of a budget, then over 6 months, and then take the average percentages so that you can really get a clear picture.
And I always feel that, and that's why the business audit for me is just one of my favourite things to do, because I always feel that you might have a very good accountant, and there are some very good accountants out there, and we love working with accountants, but I always feel you have to have the control of your numbers. And the minute you understand, and everyone that's worked with us that really didn't like numbers but suddenly are really understanding where is the money going, why is it that I'm spending there, etc. You have more control. You can have those conversations with the accountant where you actually understand where it's going, rather than relying on the accountant to tell you how your business is running, and you're sitting there thinking, well, I can't see it in my bank account, nor can I feel any of the growth, because it's all going on on the cash flow that's non-existent, isn't it? So it becomes a huge kind of exercise on loving those numbers eventually.
And I think most people that we do it with actually end up loving it because it's such an eye-opener. And when you really start to understand your own figures, then the control that you feel over that just gives you such a comfort.
And I love it when we have a member that we've worked with sometimes and they turn around and, you know, when we have our meetings with them on a month-to-month basis and they, okay, so you tell me about your numbers, and they actually talk to us about the numbers, understand the numbers, know where they spend what, why they're spending it, when are they going to spend a certain amount on what, when, because they've analysed it.
Yes.
And I feel for me that's one of the most satisfying exercise, because I just sit there thinking, that's it, you've got control of your business, because ultimately the only way you're going to have control of your business is through the numbers.
Yeah.
So all you have to do now is press the subscribe button and join us every week for an Insight Chat.
And if you have any burning questions that we haven't yet answered, then just pop in the comments below or send us an email and we can include them in one of our weekly chats.
And also we have started this amazing community of like-minded salon owners to join us on a monthly basis with our Insight Chat subscription.
Yeah, on that chat as well, you'll also get access to lots of free downloads and content that can really support you in your business.
And thank you so much for listening.
And we'll see you next time.